Welcome. Hi.
Welcome.
Have you ever wondered, what mic to use, for different situations? Well, we're going to cover that today. So, hi, I'm Nancy Walsh, and this is my husband.
I'm Robert Arnot, the video wizard,
Yes.
and this is only some of the microphones I have and have experimented with over the years. And there's a lot to know, and the opening point I want to make is that I have heard many people say they would rather watch a video where the video quality was a little sketchy, but the audio was really clean, compared to a video where the audio was poor, and I was going to say
It's hard to listen to bad
and so
voice.
a scratchy thing, and so it's really important to understand different types of microphones depending on the setting, and so that's what we're going to do today. All right, and so Nancy's kind enough to, as she does sometimes, to take the remote camera, and we'll go remote in just a minute. But let me just first, while we're just here, kind of set the stage for this, okay? So there's these two right here. If I lift them up, it might be easier to see. The Blue Yeti is probably the most common for somebody that's doing Zoom calls and live streaming on the desktop. The Blue Yeti, it's called a USB type microphone. So out of here comes a USB connection, which that's universal serial bus. I would like to educate you on some of these little details as well. But it goes right into your computer. Super straightforward, a little over $100, and it's got a super good, clean voice. This one here is the Fifine Case 690. I actually happen to like it better than the Blue because it sits lower. You can see the difference in the height here, and it tucks in really nice in front of or underneath my Affinity cam on my desk. So desktop USB mics.
Should we go ahead?
Yeah, okay, well, sure, but just give me another minute to do a little overview. This right here is just the Logitech C920 webcam that we've been using, and I will say that it's got microphones, but don't go there, okay? And then maybe if Nancy could switch to tracking me, and I'm going to switch to that mobile view, okay? And remember, you can just tip it some, okay? Okay. The Blue Yeti, I would say if you start noticing the Blue Yeti on people's videos where you can see the microphone, this is the most common out there because it performs so well. And actually, while I have you close, I'll say there is a setting on the back. You wouldn't be able to get quite close enough to see the image on it, but there's different settings for if you want it to pick up just coming out in front of you on the microphone, or if you want to, let's say, have it do side by side, if you're doing, say, a podcast with one microphone or an interview. And the Fifine has the same settings, okay? And then I don't have the cords connected because we'd have cords all over the place if I did it, but it's a micro USB here that goes into a regular USB, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about USB connections in a bit, okay? So, and again, this right here, the webcam is awesome, but the microphone works and it's reasonably clean, but it just sounds terrible as far as the richness. So we won't go there. And then
So if you're doing, this is me, Nancy, talking. So if you have a webcam, it's better to have a secondary mic.
if you're using a webcam, or if you're trying to just open up your laptop and have a conversation with somebody where you're using the laptop microphone, that's even worse than the webcam microphone, okay? If you had one laptop, one webcam, and one Blue Yeti, you're a lot better off than just having one laptop with you trying to use the onboard camera and onboard microphone, okay? Most people try to get away with using the speakers that they have. But then, so the next thing I want to talk about is using what would be called a wired microphone. So this is right here, well, it's the Audio Technica, the huge audio company, and it's the Pro 70. It's been around for years, but it's a super clean. It's wired to here, but then also this little port down there with the 3 prongs. I'm going to explain in a couple of minutes about XLR versus the tip ring sleeve type connector. But this connection needs to go, my point with this is a professional quality microphone, but what it requires is an interface to be able to turn it into something that can go into a computer. And that's why we have what's called an audio interface. Okay, this box right here has a really, really sophisticated circuit in it that takes the information from that microphone and turns it into USB and goes into the into your computer. Audio interface. This is Behringer, and so do you see this is a XLR cable, and it plugs into the bottom of this just like that. Okay. And so if you're recording, you can be plugged in, and then if you want to go like use the bathroom or whatever, you just, I always have just, you leave the pack on your body, but you disconnect. It's a better quality. The whole signal quality is better using the that interface. And then there's also the ability to, if you were to come out of this pack here with XLR, by the way, XLR stands for external line return.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to a music production, you will see lots of these little connectors around. Okay, because that's how the pros do it. I'll explain momentarily more about that. But then this fitting right here can actually go into the camera. Okay, so for instance, if I had, which I do over there, I have one of my Sony ZV-E10s. It's got a little tiny port on the side where a 1/8 inch diameter thing goes in, and so it would plug in like that, and that's how that works. Okay, now let me just say right now that the reason why XLR is it's a better way to conduct audio for distances is that there's actually three prongs to do one channel. So there's a ground, and then there's a left and a right or the hot and cold. It's one channel has 3 prongs, and if you're doing it with a clip type, one channel would only have 2 connectors. Okay, so
what's the importance for having the 2 or 3?
Because what you then have, it's called a balanced signal, to where the plus and the minus, if you will, for the audio can travel and still have a ground, but one of them is not being held as being the ground, and we shouldn't get any more technical than that. That's sort of college level.
So what I'm asking here is, which would you prefer choosing?
I would always like to, you know what, we're going to back this down to, what I'm going to tell you is having a wireless mic, that there wouldn't be an XLR involved with that, but just using wireless is going to be the best way to work in a studio, unless you're just sitting in front of your desk, and then it's best to have one of the USB microphones. Okay, so speaking of wireless then, let's talk about how you can I think what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to go to a little presentation I made, because I want to show you these Comica wireless mics that Nancy and I are using, but can't really show you too well because we're using them right now. Okay, but before I go any further on that, just to close off on the different types of microphones, this is what's called a shotgun microphone. So the desktop microphones, usually you'll be a couple of feet away. Okay, and then with a shotgun microphone, this is actually just a sound muffling device, but this shape right here, and it mounts usually on top of a camera, but it can be on a tripod or whatever. This is actually a shock mount, this red connection here, and it keeps any vibration from getting onto the microphone. But this one, the sound it picks up is just directly in front of it, And so it makes it so that side noises and background noises are going away. And you can then have a studio set up where maybe it's like 5 feet away and just off camera, but pointing at you, and you don't have to worry about miking up or anything. And so you just use the shotgun microphone. Okay?
And the pad is mostly for
This is
like
a
wind?
windsock, yeah, and buffering, and to make it look cool.
Yeah.
It says road on the side of it, okay?
There you go.
So I want to now just, I'll point out, in a minute I'm going to show you something that is the iPhone receiver that's used with these microphones. And so it's this little thing right here, and it does plug in. If I was using my iPhone as a video camera, I can, and you can see actually it's, I hope that that doesn't disturb our other channels from going in. I better just unplug that. But this is a wireless receiver for the Comica microphones that Nancy and I are wearing right now. And it goes into your iPhone. So if you're wanting to do something with your iPhone and not have to be wired, then that's the way to do it. There are choices, which I'll show you in my little brief presentation, that you can use that are wired. And actually, if you can deal with having the wire, it's oftentimes the cleanest signal unless you want to spend lots of money, okay? And so I'm going to switch over now to the my little PowerPoint presentation that I created for you. And now you can see on the screen the kit, if you want to call it that, that is on the left is the transmitter, and then there's the two channels that are A and B. And if you could see really, really close, you'd realize that one says A and one says B. And I want to make sure that if you ever do a two-channel type wireless mic setup, to make sure that both microphones are obviously that they're not muted, but that there's on the back of the receiver, there's going to be an A and a B, and to make sure both of those are feeding in there. And you can set it for mono, which means both Nancy and I will come out over both channels into the recorder. Or if we wanted, we could have it in stereo, so she could be on the left and I could be on the right, but I don't really care for that. So I'll show you here by pressing the button that says next slide. This is what it looks like. I just took this picture this morning. This is it sitting on top of my Sony camera on the back of the Affinity Cam. And so that's what it looks like when it's in use. It clips. I actually have a little mount that allows me to turn it so I can see the display, so I don't have to get up, because it's on a tripod and it's about eye level anyways. And so if I was trying to read the meters and check on things, I wouldn't be able to see it without it being turned. But the wire that comes out the back just is a short little wire, and it goes over to the back of the camera, or to the side of the camera. Okay, and so then a couple more things then in this presentation while we're talking. Here's the image of the it's the Comica Boom X receiver. And you notice how the one person on the left, there's a, she's got a lavalier mic, and then there's a wire coming down to the transmitter just in front of her, in front of that laptop. But then the other person, I wanted to point this out, she has just what looks like the transmitter clipped to her collar, and that's because the transmitters actually have small microphones on them, so you don't have to have the wired mic, but I think the audio quality is much better if you do. And then one other thing then is I'm switching then to a wired mic that you would use with a with an iPhone or any smartphone. And what's nice about this, and we'll put links in the description, this is the Boya, and it's really good. And it's a 19.5 foot long. It doesn't quite look like that in that picture, right? But it's long enough to reach across the room, so you can be wired to your iPhone and recording or live streaming and not have to worry about what the microphone from the iPhone is seeing. But do you notice on the bottom there's a the old round type of connector, which, as we all know, that Apple got rid of that back with, I think, iPhone 7, and they're all lightning connectors now. the reason why is it's easier to make a lightning receptacle on the phone that doesn't have challenges with water and getting wet. So, but if you have this one, then you also need to order this little piece, which you can see on the top right is the lightning connector. And then the other side is where you would plug in that round plug, right? And it has to be an Apple certified type to work. So if you're going to interface your wired microphone, which I highly recommend using if you need to do a recording with the iPhone, you need to have this adapter too. And it's actually on the listing for that other microphone, the Boya. It's on the bottom as other also people bought. Okay, so
I'm just going to say is if you're just doing a quick selfie, just using the phone is fine.
If you're sure, that's a good point. And if you're just doing a selfie, then
just use the phone.
You can just use the phone mic. But if you're trying to do that's right.
Away from the phone a bit.
Yeah. I think I'll just finish the slides that I have while I'm still going through them. So the next thing I want to just say is when we're talking about different types of connections, you hear USB, but USB type A is the one that goes into your computer, and that sometimes if you see it with blue, that's the latest standard USB 3, which is higher speed, and then almost so much is becoming very common with the type C connection. And then
so which is better?
The type C is becoming very universal. Okay. As far as which one's better, they're both, oftentimes you'll see the type A on one end and the type C on the other. And I just put this picture in there because a lot of microphones, like my desktop microphones here, use the type B connection. Only just to show what's possible with different things. Now there's one other thing to make a point of. This is something that, while it may seem a little heady to get into this, but you'll get really messed up if you don't recognize on your iPhone connection, the one on the right or the one on the left is the one that works for the iPhone. It's called a tip. There's a tip of it, and then a ring and a ring and then a sleeve. That's so you can have a ground and a left channel and a right channel and a microphone. And if you try to plug something that doesn't have that same configuration into the iPhone setup, you'll oftentimes not have your microphone working. So that's that. And then one more thing is this is what an XLR connector looks like up close, and it is the 3 prongs is only for one channel because the one in the middle is actually the ground, and then there's the plus and the minus, and it's the way to go for doing excellent quality stuff. So I'm going to switch back to me on the tripod version, and then I don't know if Nancy, maybe you could just come back over here, because I think for right now that's the extent of what we needed to cover in this quick overview. Let me just bottom line this for you, okay? If I had a favorite choice, I would say that the desktop USB microphone is absolutely awesome for doing anything where you're sitting at your desk, you've got the monitor in front of you, maybe an Infinity Cam in front of you, but this is the best way to get your audio. Nice,
especially
rich.
for Zoom calls.
Nice, rich, quality, clean, and it goes right into your computer with USB.
When I do my hypnosis recordings, I always use...
this actually, I stole this from her office this morning for a demo.
It gives it a really nice,
and this one
rich
is
voice.
Essentially the same as far as its audio quality, okay? And then as far as the way I would really like to talk to a camera at a distance, it's with these wireless microphones. It's great to say you can have a wire, and believe me, I for a few years.
Wire's cheaper than the wireless, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
This is gonna, by the time you end up with the audio interface and this, it may be about the same. This one is the Comica. Things have come a long ways. I must say. And the little transmitter is only about the size of, you know, the little box of matches you get. Little boxes, not the big ones. And so it's awesome. But the other thing is, this is kind of a hassle to set up, even though it works really good for good, clean audio. And the other thing is...
For the wireless part. I mean,
for wired.
Wired.
The other thing is, if you feed into your computer a signal from here on USB, and you feed into your computer a signal from somewhere else that's the video signal, oftentimes you'll have a slight delay in the audio so that the lip sync isn't perfect. And now, like my vMix software here, I can just go tweak that. But what I do, and I really, really would advise anybody that's setting up a studio to a level beyond just webcam and microphone, I run the wireless, like I showed the picture of the receiver on top of the camera. I go into the camera, and then the audio actually is transmitted along the same cable as the video signal. So when it goes into my box computer, then it's all synchronized, and there's no way it gets out of sync. So it's really great.
Which is important when we're doing live, because you can't edit it.
Yeah. And so, well, let's see here. I guess what I would say, like I've said before, is I would invite you to leave a comment or a question, but what I want to have accomplished here is giving you an overview of audio, give you my recommendations, and also convince you that I'd be worth asking questions to, as far as maybe I could help you in the right direction. There are other wireless mics. Okay, so if it's not one of my desktop USB mics, I would just be wireless with everything, okay? There is a Rode, this same brand as the shotgun makes one, it's called something like the Rode Go.
It's RODE.
It's about the same cost as my Comica. And then all of the big names that have $600 per microphone to spare are using something that's from a brand called Sennheiser, and that's like one of the Cadillacs of audio. But I think that's it for now.
Yeah. And
hopefully that helps get the point across.
That as we all know, technology changes,
right?
And you know, there's more and more out there that comes that's even better and better. So this is being recorded in, you know, September of 2023. So if you're seeing this a year later or something like that, know that there might be new equipment, but mics don't change quite as fast as some other technology. Let me
just go back to this one slide here that showed my camera, and to be clear, the size of those, like what we have on our waist here, but also the transmitter, those are, honestly, they're so small, it's amazing to realize how well and clean they work, but they do. And so I'm very pleased with that. When we leave a link, I don't have an affinity, what do they call that? Affiliate link? I have an affinity cam, but the affiliate link. So it's not like I'm trying to make money off of it, it's just that's my choice. I'm really pleased with how it always works, and it's always a clean signal. And if there's the Comica wireless setup, and the fact that I can do 2 channels into one receiver and then put it into the camera and you can hear both of us. Yeah,
you had, early in our lives, I think we realized that it was only one mic was picking up both voices, and so one was quieter than the other, and you figured out that you needed to have both in the receiver.
Right. It was that mine was on, let's just say I made a setup error. And so hers was picking up her, and hers, thank goodness, was close enough to pick up me. But the first time I heard it, I said, you know, we got to figure out what's wrong. And we did.
And he did.
We've actually
made sure that both were showing up.
Short of just things with content and getting it right, pretty much anything technical I can figure out quickly and make it work. And that's so important. I think, in another closing note, in feeling confident on camera and producing something on a regular basis, having confidence in your setup is huge. just knowing, like our setup is a little complex here, but I'm sort of just, I turn on microphones and I turn on vMix and I turn on a couple of monitors and the Affinity Cam and one camera, and they always just like come up. Okay, so
yeah, once you have the thing set up.
yeah, once it's set,
and you can
everything
help
seems to be
people in the setup process. So
right.
if you
And
if you're
choosing what
feeling
to
a bit
spend money on.
overwhelmed,
yeah.
this isn't meant. This video is not meant to overwhelm, but to just give you some options, and
Right.
you can scroll through the video and see which ones might be interesting for you, or have a combination of things like we do. So yeah. And if you're watching this anywhere else besides our cutting edge video solutions community, yeah, go there in our Facebook group and join.
And
Ask to
also,
join.
yeah, so you could subscribe to the channel and like it, and we really appreciate any. It's amazing to feel how good it is to be able to help people, but the one missing piece is I can't help you if you don't reach out and ask questions or whatever. And we're here to really support the growing cutting edge video solutions community, as well as our client base. So there you go.
Yeah.
If I wanted to overwhelm you, I could do that. We'd be at it for quite as long. When I looked through my collection of microphones, and I was, oh, this was like from 8 years ago. But so I thinned it out. But the XLR, the Audio Technica Pro 70 is a really good, sweet sounding microphone. It's just that it requires the audio interface, and then this is only $100. You can spend a lot of money on good shotgun microphones, but it works great for if you want to just drop into a space. You don't have to mic up. I could be having it just out of the camera, and then really though, honestly, the Blue Yeti.
Yeah, for anything where you're sitting fairly close.
Yeah, this is the one. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts use a version of this.
Yeah. Oh, and just as an aside, although it's not showing and we don't need to get any closer, but on the bottom of the Blue is a fitting that can go onto. It's called a microphone boom, and so you sometimes might see people with this body, and it's actually being supported by a rod,
like an arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially for podcasts. I've seen.
Oh, and if you are using the Blue, which I've seen people actually make this mistake, but there's a front and a back, and if you have this setting set for the cardioid position, you want to make sure, darn sure, that you're actually talking into the front, because otherwise it doesn't sound as sweet.
And there is a nice little mute button on the, and I have made a mistake of thinking that on my Zoom call I'm muted or not muted, but if I've muted the mic, then I have to unmute both. So, but it is handy, like if you're wanting to just cough or something like that, you can hit the mute button really fast.
Yeah. So in closing,
on here.
You hear people say, well, doing videos, but video is the AV department, the AV, audio video department. And so microphones and how you get your audio into your stream or your recording is really important. And like Nancy was saying, indeed, if you're just doing a selfie, then, well, sure, because the microphone's only a couple feet away, and yet, even at that, they do make microphones that plug right in and point at you, sort of like a shotgun microphone would be. Okay, so, all
right.
Well, anyways.
So, yep, reach out to us, and
if you got benefit from this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and hit that bell notification so you know when our next video comes out, and we'd love to hear comments from you, so comment below. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.